guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and we got yet another patch 9.2 encrypted build waiting to be decrypted on the horizon. So far, my favorite patch 9.2 builds have been the ones with new tier sets, especially tier set reworks. My favorite part has been the interaction between the devs and the players. Devs put out tier sets, players try them and give feedback. Devs go back and adjust it based on players' feedback, and in most cases make the tier sets better and more interesting. And last week we even got a class change, also one that's inspired by players' feedback, and saw a very positive response from the community. As they're continuing the work fixing and adjusting the next build, I wanted to highlight some of the specs heading into the current patch 9.2 changes that are looking to gain some of the biggest gains. These are not going to be the most popular specs, but they're seeing some of the biggest improvements. It's safe to say that anything that is popular now is also seeing improvements, but there are some specs that are underrepresented and even underplayed that are seeing some of the biggest upgrades in 9.2. So let's see how these underdogs are holding in the next build, but right before that, most of you guys watch videos are still not subscribed. But the more of you I tell, the more of you do, so let's keep it going. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell if you're watching these videos anyway, especially if you want to see more videos like these going forward, as well as future 9.2 updates. The first spec on the list is Enhancement Shaman. In the last build, Enhancement saw some class buffs, where Blizzard gave them a functionality from older expansions where they can now spread their flame shocks to nearby enemies. Enhancement Shaman profile for DPS sometimes struggles in AoE and cleave fights, so this definitely fills a much needed gap. Then there's the 2-piece and 4-piece for Enhancement Shamans, where spending Maelstrom has a chance to spawn a Ghost Wolf, and these Ghost Wolves provide you more procs for abilities that normally would have a longer cooldown. It's an interesting tier set, but it's still difficult to tell if this is a set in stone tier set or it will see future updates, though it does generally work to smooth out your rotation by making it less RNG and a little bit more predictable with regular Ghost Wolves providing you procs. All this combined with how popular Wind Fury has gotten for raiding of the last raid, I expect a lot of shamans to see a lot more raiding opportunities heading into patch 9.2. This value is really determined based on how good melees are heading into the next build, but we'll know that better as we get closer to the release of patch 9.2. Another spec that I thought was a bit of an underdog is Retribution Paladin. Out of all the alts, this one I've had probably the hardest time getting to some Mythic Plus groups. Red Paladins seem to get overlooked quite often. Though as overlooked as they may be, their tier set does look interesting. The Retribution Paladin tier set plays around Art of War. Every time you gain the Art of War proc, you gain Seraphim for a few seconds and a chance to reset Wake of Ashes. Truthfully, I found the Seraphim window to be kind of short. However, free procs of Wake of Ash gives you so much holy power and smooths out your rotation, making sure you don't have to wait for cooldowns or gaps when you play. I think this tier set is gonna go through changes, but I hope they keep the Wake of Ash procs. Like many classes, Paladins are gaining double legendaries heading into patch 9.2. Because their best installed legendary is already the Carrion legendary, adding any other legendary to bolster your single target damage or AoE is going to be huge gains for the Paladins going forward. The next spec on the list is going to be Feral Druid. Their tier set is interesting because it deals with cooldown reduction to their main ability of Berserk. Generally, when you have a cooldown as long as 3 minutes, reducing that cooldown can mean huge value gains for that spec. In case of a Feral Druid, Berserk gives you a window to get more bites back to back at the target. And while this is a slight exaggeration, bites are like 80% of your damage. This buff comes with a 4-piece where upon using Berserk, you thrash at enemies around you, applying a powerful bleed to every enemy target. One of the biggest downsides of a Feral Druid is they're lacking AoE, which this tier set seems to want to adjust. Fun fact, there is actually already a legendary for Feral Druids that goes to further reduce the cooldown of Berserk. And I wonder if there might be some interactive combos between that legendary and the 2-piece tier set to make this an even stronger combination. Speaking of legendaries, just like Retribution Paladin, one of the best legendaries for Feral is the Night Fae legendary, so they're looking at an opportunity to have some of the biggest gains from the double legendary combinations in 9.2. The next spec is Affliction Warlock, which has seen popularity in the early Shadowlands, particularly Castle Nathria. The spec does do well within Mythic Plus content, or at least it seems to, yet the numbers of players that play this spec, as well as the player perception of Affliction, is still fairly low. Their tier set is looking to turn around by re-increasing the Malefic Rapture damage. Back in 9.1, Malefic Rapture saw a nerf, which forced Affliction Warlocks to take a bit of a hit. The tier set brings back the damage into Rapture, which creates for stronger single target damage as well as multi-target cleave. The 2-piece set bonus even allows for longer duration of your dots, which could be incredibly good in multi-target fights. The 4-piece helps to bolster the filler for Affliction Warlocks, and in my time playing with it, it does feel a little bit better as Shadow Bolt over Drain Life. The 2-piece and 4-piece are working to bolster the burst of Affliction Warlocks, better sustain of your damage over time abilities, and a more interesting filler window where you're not just spamming Shadow Bolts. In fact, all of the Warlock tier sets are pretty interesting, though I am excited about the Affliction one, especially how Malefic Rapture does more damage and extends the duration of your active dots. Like the other specs that we talked about, the double legendaries are going to improve Affliction playstyle. It's very hard to tell which legendaries are going to be the best, but I do hope a dot focused playstyle could be dominant in the future. The next spec on the list is a Shadow Priest. Shadow Priest isn't really an unpopular range class, but they're not nearly as popular as mages and boomkins. Their tier set is focused to provide you more Mind Blasts as part of your gameplay. This Mind Blast focused playstyle may lead them to choose certain covenants and even certain legendaries. In the past, we had a lot of Shadow Priests swap to Night Fae, together with the Talbadar's legendary that increases the damage of your Mind Blast, and I wonder if that's something we'll see in 9.2. Whenever you get a free proc of Mind Blast and you consume it, you get a shadow that spawns above you, which does cleave damage to your primary target. While the PTR numbers are not final, the shadow does a lot of damage for my priest. This damage cleaves and will do equal damage to every enemy nearby, so it's an ability that is single target focused with free cleave on top of it, which can be exceptionally strong within raiding encounters. The next spec on the list is going to be our first healer, which is Mistweaver Monks. In the right hands, Mistweaver can be the strongest healer in the game, though on average, they're not really the most popular healer that I see signing up for my dungeon groups. I believe their tier set is not finalized and needs some work, and hopefully we'll see some sort of adjustments heading to the next build of 9.2. Where a lot of the strengths for Monks comes from is just how strong the legendaries are, specifically as a Venthyr Monk. Venthyr Monks with a Venthyr legendary can heal the full party without breaking a sweat. It's a ton of passive healing on a very short cooldown, thanks to the crit cooldown reduction that the legendary provides. Like the other classes on this list, double legendaries are going to have some massive impacts in their playstyles. It's hard to tell what's going to be the best synergetic legendary with the Venthyr Monk Lego, but I feel that the Fistweaver legendary plays easily into the Venthyr Lego passive healing playstyle, which will let him focus on damage while providing incredibly strong passive healing for their group. Finally, the last underdog spec is going to be Prod Warrior. Just like what I said about healers earlier, there are no bad tanks in Shadowlands. The statement is even more true for tanks specifically, but warriors on average found themselves to be less played than some of the other tanks in the game. Their tier set in 9.2, however, looks really exciting, letting the warrior choose whether they want to bolster defense or go out full offense. Spending rage gives you stacks, and after enough stacks, you get a buff where your next shield slam or thunder stomp are 200% more effective, which is great if you're going for all-out offense, but if you need more defense instead, you can also consume that buff to empower your next Ignore Pain to be a lot more effective. The 4-piece goes further to empower your avatar, so you do 10% more damage while you're transformed. But the avatar also gains a defensive, where it makes you take 10% less damage as well. Upon using avatar, you instantly gain the procs from the 2-piece set bonus. This is a fantastic option for many tanks out there to give them the choice of more damage or defense, because depending on situation, they might be able to use one or the other. Warriors are heading into 9.2 with double legendaries as well. A lot of their Covenant legendaries are offering free damage or somewhat of utility. This way they can have a more balanced build, letting their Warrior legendary provide defense, while letting the Covenant legendary provide offense. With so many good updates for Protection Warriors, I'm hoping we get to see more procs in patch 9.2. And that's going to be on my list of the underdog specs, getting some of the biggest gains for patch 9.2. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you guys think I missed an underdog spec that is getting the biggest gains in the next patch, let me know in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, or if you simply found it informative, give it a thumbs up as well. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments, or if you want to hit me up directly, there's a link to the Discord in the description of every single video. That's the link to the Discord community for the Dalaran channel. Become part of the community, join the Discord, probably the best place to reach me. Thank you all so much for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see all of you in another one.